Yo, what's up everyone? Back for a Fanduel video for week 1. Posted my DraftKings video a few days ago, so if you want, if you only play DraftKings, you can check that one out. It's buried a little bit, but you can find it here on the channel. Today we're looking at the Fanduel picks for week 1. So let's get right into it. You can drop a like and subscribe down below if you're excited. You can visit the website if you want to get on board. See the packages that we offer. You can read about it if you want. And I'll put a link in the comments in the description. But anyway, let's get on to some picks that I like. Starting off at quarterback, we'll also have a showdown video out in the coming days before Thursday. At quarterback on Fanduel, we have Patrick Mahomes is really highly priced. Is really high priced at $8,700. Not saying that he's not going to go out and have a big game. Most likely he's going to have a big game, but I just think that's a little too pricey for me. One I definitely pay down. I'm not interested in Wilson at 82. The Seahawks have gone so run heavy lately that Wilson's not having doesn't have as much room to have huge games just because he's not throwing the ball a lot. As you see, a lot of the games he's throwing 20 times, under 30 times. Most of these games, he's still been good with the fantasy because most of his throws, it's been crazy how many of his throws have gone for touchdowns last season. But I think it's a fine play. But at 8,200, it's not like we're getting a discount on him. And then Matt Ryan, I think he's a little too expensive at 8,000. I'm looking a little cheaper here. FanDuel, the pricing is pretty tight. Below 8K, you got a lot of good options here with Mayfield, Goff, Wentz. Especially Winston at 7,500 is a nice price. I still like Cousins a bit. But I do like Josh Allen here. He's significantly cheaper than some of the other quarterbacks at 6,900. He has monstrous upside just because he will take off with his legs, and quarterbacks that can run the ball are super valuable in fantasy. At only 6,900 facing the Jets, they are not a great defense. They got a little better, but he was good against them last season, and he's still running the ball well. He had a really good preseason, so he should take a step forward in his second year, and I think at 6,900 he makes for a solid option here at the quarterback position. At running back, I like a bunch of options at the top with Barkley is probably my favorite. Spend up with no Melvin Gordon. You can go down to some of his backups, Eckler and Justin Jackson. But I really like Dalvin Cook once again. To 7,400 is not super expensive. Nobody's going to take away rushing attempts from him. He's going to be the guy first, second, third down probably too. Just going to get a lot of looks in the running game. Also going to get some targets and passes out of the backfield. Just a lot to like with Dalvin Cook. He's at a reasonable price tag at 7,400. And then my second running back that I like is, you got some good options here. If you don't want to pay up at running back, if you want to pay up at wide receiver, FanDuel, they have a lot of good priced running backs below 7,000 with Mark Ingram, even Devontae Freeman at 67. Chris Carson, I like him. Eckler, he's a decent option. And if you want to go super cheap, not a ton that I like down here. So I'm kind of ending it at probably Chris Carson. I think that's kind of the more safe option. If for GPPs, you can mix and match players down here. But there's not a ton of good options at running back value-wise unless somebody's hurt. So I'm not going to spend time really talking about it. I'm going to go ahead and put in Chris Carson at 6,600. Talked about how Seattle's gone super run-heavy over the past couple seasons, especially last year, and Chris Carson benefited a lot. Mike Davis is no longer on the team. He doesn't have as much competition for a second-string running back that's going to take away a lot of his attempts. He's going to be the guy on the ground. He's not great in the passing game, but he can get a couple passes and a couple targets. He's the guy at the goal line. Good chance to get over 100 rushing yards against a really bad Bengals defense, and he's really cheap at 6,600. So I like a couple probably cheap mid-range running backs on FanDuel with Cook and Carson. And then I'm definitely going to be paying up a wide receiver. Lots of good pay-ups at the top with Jones, Beckham, Evans really stick out. If you look in the second tier, I like Thielen a lot. You can definitely, the Rams are always kind of tough to pick which receiver you want just because they have three guys that are going to get a lot of targets in Cooks, Woods, and Cooper Kupp. So with them being the same price tag, I think you can probably guess and pick one that you like. I'd probably go with Robert Woods of those two, but I think you can still go a little cheaper and get a better value. I like Kenny Golladay at 6,900. Pettis makes for a nice GPP play. 49ers have a pretty high total. The Bucs defense is pretty bad, and he's just got named the number one receiver. So we know Garoppolo likes to throw the ball. Pettis should be in line for some targets, but he's not super cheap at 6,500, but still a nice play. Landry's a decent option. Nobody's going to really play him with everybody playing Odell Beckham in the first game. And then I still like David Moore of the Panthers. Shepard is a decent option. I like D.D. Westbrook a bunch at 5,900. And you can definitely go with if Deshaun Jackson's healthy, he's a decent option. And then for value, not a ton that I like just because I'm going to be going down at running back a little bit, so I'm going to be paying up at wide receiver. But usually, if you can always find a cheap value wide receiver once you look at the depth chart and see who's starting. But I'm going to go with Beckham here. First game at home facing the Titans. The Browns offense super hyped up. Beckham has a very, after getting Eli Manning throwing to him over his career, now he gets young Baker Mayfield, who is super athletic, throws the ball deep. He's going to be looking Beckham's way a lot, and Beckham he's going to get a ton of targets, can turn that into a huge game. Especially he's going to get a lot of looks at the red zone as well. So I love Beckham at 82. And then I like Mike Evans a lot as well. It's one of the higher totals on the slate here this game. Tampa Bay and San Francisco. Both defenses are really bad in the secondary. Should be some points scored. And, Evans-Winston stack looks pretty appealing. They've always had a good chemistry. Evans not super expensive at 7,900. And he does have a lot of upside. So far we got a bunch of upside here with Allen, Cook, Carson, Beckham, Evans. I like them all in really good spots. And then in the flex, if you want another running back that I like, it's going to be 7,200 for Leonard Fournette. Fournette is going to get another chance here in Jacksonville. Wasn't great last season, but he was motivated on the offseason. I think he's going to have a much better season with Nick Foles being the quarterback. Nick Foles is definitely a much better option than who they had last year with Bortles and then their backups that they played. Fournette's going to get a lot of work on the ground. There's not a ton of competition to take away snaps from him. So I like Fournette to really do some damage here against a really weak run defense. And the Jaguars do like to run the ball on the ground. The Chiefs, they have a great offense, but their defense gave up so many points last season and so many yards on the ground. So it's going to be a good option to kind of attack some of this game, even both sides, especially if the Jags go overlooked. With them playing at home, I feel a little more confident that they can stay in this game. And Fournette at 7,200 is a decent option. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill out the rest that I like, because why not? It's like an early look for Fanduel. We'll go with tight end next. I'm still going with my guy Delaney Walker, 5,400 for him. Going to get a lot of looks. At the tight end position, the Titans don't have a ton of other options to throw the ball to besides him and Corey Davis. Mariota loves to look at Walker's way. He's always looked at his way. Primarily, he's always been one of his favorite receivers over his career in Tennessee, and I don't think that's going to change. 5,400 facing a Cleveland team that was one of the worst in NFL at giving up fantasy points to tight ends. I don't think that's going to change this season that much. They're not a very good defense, even though their offense is really hyped up, and they are probably going to have one of the best offenses in the league, but their defense still has some holes, and I think Walker can exploit some of them, especially because he's going to be on the field a lot of the time. They don't really have a backup tight end that I'm worried he's going to take away his looks. And then at the defense, for defense, I like to kind of pay down at defense. Defense is one of the more random aspects of NFL. You can't really predict which team's going to get that pick six or going to get that that punt return touchdown. So I don't really like to pay up at defense unless there's like a lock spot or there's like a really good spot against a backup quarterback against a really good offense. I mean, a really good defense on the road. Then you want to pay up for them. But week one, I think it's kind of like take your pick. I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. They're their cheapest defense on the board at 3,000. Even though they're at home, the Ravens they're probably going to be an okay offense. They're not super scary. Lamar Jackson, we'll see how he progresses in his second year. He still does do turnovers. They do like to run the ball a lot. Maybe they can force some fumbles here, but their Dolphins defense was decent last season, and they were pretty good at getting defensive touchdowns. And they do have one of the best cornerbacks in the league in Xavier Howard. So if he can shut down one of the Ravens receivers, then I think the Dolphins can still have a good game on the defensive end. They were decent at home last season, and all you really need out of a defense is a few points, and I think they can supply that against the Ravens. And then last but not least, 7,400, going to go Adam Thielen. I really like this build. You got a lot of upside with all your receivers. You get three of the top receivers on the slate with Beckham, Evans, and Thielen. You get three of the best value running backs and three of the top 10 projected running backs in Cook, Carson, and Fournette. You get a solid tight end in Walker. You get a high upside quarterback in Josh Allen. And you get a defense that's the cheapest defense on the slate. And the matchup's not terrible against the Ravens. So that's what I like for Fanduel Week 1 first look. Hopefully you enjoyed. You can visit the website if you want to join us. And good luck today.